You sent us a truly fascinating collection this time, analyses and summaries delving into Ray Kurzweil's latest thoughts in The Singularity is Near. So let's dive right in.
Indeed. And for anyone familiar with Kurzweil's earlier work, just the title, Nearer, it really says a lot, doesn't it?
It does. It immediately suggests this huge event he talked about before is, well, closer now.
Exactly, that it's approaching faster than maybe even he first thought.
Okay, so for listeners who might be new to this, what is this singularity that Kurzweil talks about? What's the basic idea?
Well, at its core, Kurzweil's singularity is about this really profound merger. It's human biological intelligence becoming, deeply linked with non-biological machine intelligence.
So not just having smartphones or computers.
No, much more fundamental. Think of it as a radical leap in our actual cognitive power, like expanding our brain power hugely.
The word singularity, it always brings physics to mind for me, like black holes. Is that deliberate?
Oh, absolutely. It's a direct analogy. In physics, a singularity is where the known laws kind of break down, right?
Right.
Kurzweil uses that to emphasize how unpredictable and transformative this technological event will be for human civilization. It's like a point beyond which our current models of existence just don't really apply anymore.
Okay, but when you say merging with machines, my mind immediately goes to, like, science fiction cautionary tales. Is that where Kurzweil's coming from?
Interestingly, no, not really. A really key part of his argument is that the AI we're building won't be some separate competing intelligence.
Okay.
He sees it more as an extension of us, a tool we use for self-enhancement. He actually frames it as the next logical step in human evolution.
So less Terminator, more enhanced human.
Pretty much, yeah. It sidesteps a lot of those common dystopian fears. It's a very optimistic take, fundamentally.
That definitely stands out. So given all that, what's our mission today? With this deep dive into the materials you sent, what are we trying to figure out for you, the listener?
Our goal is really to unpack Kurzweil's main arguments in The Singularity is Nearer. We want to look at the evidence he puts forward, his reasoning, and, the kind of future he's painting, all based on these sources we have.
All right, makes sense. So where does he even start building this, frankly, pretty extraordinary case? What's the foundation?
The absolute bedrock, the engine behind it all, is what he calls the law of accelerating returns, LARIAR for short.
LARIAR. Okay.
This is fundamental. The core idea is that technological progress, especially in anything related to information, isn't steady. It's not linear.
It's speeding up.
Exponentially speeding up, getting faster and faster.
All right, exponential growth. That's a big claim. What drives that acceleration? What's the mechanism?
It's essentially a positive feedback loop. Each new technological step doesn't just give us a new thing, it gives us better tools to make the next step.
So innovation breeds faster innovation.
Exactly. It snowballs. Each advance makes future advances quicker and easier.
Okay, I get that. But Kurzweil takes this idea much further than just, say, computers, right?
Oh, much further. He applies a low R across the entire history of evolution itself. He outlines these 6 epochs.
6 epochs?
Yeah, starting way back with basic physics and chemistry, then life emerging with biology and DNA, then brains evolving, then technology appearing.
And the 5th epoch is where we are now, the merging of our technology with our intelligence.
Correct. And that epoch culminates in the singularity.
And there's a 6th, something about the universe waking up.
He gets cosmic, yeah, envisioning intelligence spreading out, transforming matter and energy. But let's stick with how we get to the singularity first.
Good idea. So what's key to this acceleration within the epochs?
Information. He argues information is the crucial element. How we gather it, store it, process it, transmit it. Those are the processes that have been accelerating exponentially.
So it's not just raw computing speed.
Not just that. Computing is a huge part, obviously. But he includes AI, biotech, because DNA is essentially biological information processing, and nanotech, manipulating matter based on information.
Okay.
They all fundamentally deal with information.
And Moore's law, the doubling of transistors. That's like the classic example people know.
Exactly. Moore's law is a perfect specific example of LOR playing out in semiconductor technology, doubling power roughly every 18-24 months for decades.
But how does this law connect to something like medicine? That doesn't seem like an information technology at first glance.
But that's a key part of his argument. He believes fields become information technologies.
How so?
Well, take medicine. We're using AI to simulate biological processes, to design drugs, to analyze huge data sets of patient information.
Right, like finding patterns we couldn't see before.
Precisely. It's turning medicine into an information science. Same with manufacturing if nanotech lets us build things atom by atom based on software.
Then manufacturing becomes an information process too. Okay, I'm seeing the connection.
Yeah, this idea of informational reductionism is central. If you frame things as information processing the brain, disease, aging, even consciousness in a way, then they become subject to this accelerating change.
So brain-computer interfaces become linking information processors. Nanomedicine becomes fixing information errors in our biology.
You got it. And merging our minds with AI in the cloud becomes, well, a logical, if pretty mind-bending extension of that informational view.
Okay, so LAR is the engine. What are the specific technologies getting turbocharged by this engine? You mentioned GNR plus AI.
Yes, the big ones are genetics, nanotechnology, robotics, the GNR part, and absolutely central to everything, artificial intelligence. Let's start with AI.
It makes sense. AI is everywhere in the news right now. It feels like it's moving incredibly fast.
And Kurzweil would say we're just seeing the very early stages. He points to the massive compute power we have now, the explosion of big data, and crucially, the breakthroughs in algorithms, especially deep learning with neural nets since, like, the early 2010s.
And his big prediction there, the famous one, is still human-level AI by 2029.
That's right. He's sticking with artificial general intelligence, AGI, by 2029. And he's pretty specific about what AGI means. Not just good at one thing, but having the full range of human cognitive abilities, performing any intellectual task a human can, matching top experts in any field, handling emotional intelligence, passing a really tough Turing test.
Wow, 2029. That still feels incredibly ambitious when I look at current AI, like, ChatGPT or Gemini. They're amazing, but they definitely have limits. Token windows, weird mistakes.
Right. And Kurzweil acknowledges those limits, the context length, the lack of real common sense, the hallucinations. But he sees these as engineering problems.
Solvable ones.
Solvable ones, yes. Things we'll figure out well before that 2029 date. And once we do hit AGI, he predicts this rapid intelligence explosion, AI quickly zooming past human levels.
The sudden explosion of knowledge, as the source mentioned.
Exactly.
Okay, so AI is the intelligence component. What about upgrading our actual bodies? That's where genetics and biotech fit in.
Exactly. Biotech, supercharged by AI, is how we tackle our biological limits, especially aging and disease. The big prediction here is radical life extension.
Pushing lifespans way out.
Way out, which leads to this concept of longevity escape velocity, or LEV. He thinks that could happen sometime in the 2030s.
Longevity escape velocity. That sounds intense. What does it mean again?
It's the point where for every year you live, science advances enough to add more than a year to your remaining life expectancy.
So you effectively stop aging, chronologically speaking, relative to your lifespan increasing.
Pretty much. Your expected lifespan starts running away from you, in a good way.
Okay, that would change everything.
Yeah.
How does biotech get us there?
It's a combination. Wiping out genetic diseases with gene editing, being able to grow replacement organs so you don't have organ failure, AI spotting diseases super early through diagnostics.
And speeding up new treatments.
Massively. AI analyzing biological data, designing drugs, running simulations that might even replace some clinical trials eventually. It's about turning medicine proactive, precise, information-driven, reversing aging, not just managing decline.
Okay. AI, brain, biotech body upgrades. Where does nanotechnology fit, those tiny robots you mentioned?
Right. The nanobots. Think of them as the crucial interface, the bridge between the digital AI world and our biological world.
How so? What's their job?
Well, a major one is medicine, inside the body. Imagine swarms of these molecular machines.
Swarms.
Yeah, billions of them navigating your bloodstream. They could repair cells individually, clear out plaque from arteries, hunt down cancer cells or viruses specifically, even fix DNA errors, tackling aging right at the molecular level.
That sounds like incredibly targeted medicine. But how do they connect to the AI, the intelligence expansion part?
This is maybe their most critical role for the Singularity vision, enabling brain-computer interfaces, BCIs.
Okay.
Kurzweil imagines these nanobots traveling through the blood, crossing the blood-brain barrier, which is a big hurdle normally, and positioning themselves near our neurons.
Inside the brain.
Right beside the neurons. They could then monitor the neuron's activity, its firing patterns, and critically set up wireless communication with computing resources outside your body, like the cloud.
So a direct wireless link from your brain cells to external AI.
Yeah.
No helmet, no wires.
Exactly. A seamless internal BCI. That's the mechanism he proposes for massively expanding our intelligence, instant access to vast knowledge and processing power, integrated directly with our biological thinking.
Wow. That's a leap.
It is. And he also suggests these nanobots could stimulate our sensory neurons directly,
Meaning?
meaning fully immersive, virtual, and augmented reality. Experiences fed directly into your nervous system, potentially indistinguishable from reality.
The ultimate VR headset built into your brain. And you mentioned molecular manufacturing, too.
Yes, that's another huge potential for nanotech, building things atom by atom, molecule by molecule based on software plans.
Like Star Trek replicators, almost.
Kind of, yeah. It could lead to radical abundance, making almost anything needed from basic materials and information very cheaply.
Okay, so what about the R robotics? It feels a bit less emphasized sometimes.
It's definitely part of the GNR revolution, maybe just less detailed in these specific sources. But robotics provides the physical body for AI to interact with the world.
Like the hands and feet.
Exactly. Think AI-powered surgeons, potentially with superhuman precision. Robots doing complex physical tasks. They're the embodiment for AI and nanotech's creations.
So it's crucial that these aren't just separate technologies advancing on their own paths.
Absolutely not. The convergence is everything. They feed into each other.
Oh, give me an example.
Well, AI designs better nanomaterials and analyzes complex biological systems for biotech. Nanotech provides the hardware for AI, maybe super efficient processors, and those vital nanobots for BCIs. Biotech gives us the understanding to safely integrate all this tech with our bodies.
That's a loop, a reinforcing
and
cycle.
build a powerful synergistic cycle. Yeah, each breakthrough accelerates the others.
Okay, this paints an incredible picture.
Yeah.
But what's the evidence? These are some really big claims.
Mm.
Where does Kurzweil get the support for them?
Right, it can't just be speculation. He does try to ground it in observable trends and current research. A lot of it comes back to tracking those historical trends, especially in information tech.
Back to LO Air. What's the hard data for that exponential growth?
A big piece is the cost of computing. He relentlessly tracks computations per second per dollar, how much processing power your money buys you.
And that's been going up exponentially.
Dramatically for decades. He uses those semi-log charts to show it's a consistent exponential curve, not linear. He even cited an 11,200-fold increase in computational value per dollar just between 2005 and when he was writing the sequel.
11,200 times better bang for your buck in computing. Wow.
And the key takeaway for you, the listener, is that this isn't just faster progress. The rate of progress is accelerating. So future changes could be way more dramatic and arrive much sooner than our linear intuition expects.
And it's not just compute costs, right? He mentioned other areas.
Yeah, definitely. He points to the plummeting cost of sequencing a genome that was like 99.9997% cheaper. Huge increases in data storage, bandwidth speeds, internet connectivity, miniaturization continuing, growth in nanotech publications and patents.
So multiple information-related fields showing similar curves.
Exactly. And he even connects it to broader improvements, health, wealth, literacy, globally, arguing the pace picked up recently because of these information-based innovations.
Okay, what about evidence specifically for AI moving towards AGI so fast?
There he points to current real-world AI applications. AI being used now in scientific discovery, finding new drugs, analyzing medical scans better than humans sometimes, helping design vaccines, solving protein folding with AlphaFold.
Things that require significant intelligence.
Right. Also, AI and robotics, like those surgical pilots, and even the abilities of today's LLMs, like ChatGPT, despite their flaws, show a rapid trajectory. He credits deep learning, starting around the early 2010s, as a huge accelerant.
But what about the really far-out stuff? Nanobots in our brains, longevity, escape velocity. What's the evidence there? That feels more speculative.
It is more speculative, you're right. The evidence there is less about finished products and more about proof of concept and extrapolating current research.
So how does he justify it?
For BCIs, he'd point to work being done by companies like Neuralink or government projects like DARPA funding brain interface research. These show tangible efforts are underway.
Early steps on that path.
Exactly. For medical nanobots, it's more about showing that the underlying fields, nanoscale engineering, materials science, molecular biology, are advancing rapidly. He argues nanobots are a logical extension of that progress, especially when you factor in future AI to help design and control them. It's less, here's a working medical nanobot, and more, the foundational pieces are falling into place.
So part observation of trends, part projection of where current science is heading. Okay, how does he pull this all together into a prediction method? What's the reasoning process?
It rests on a few key things. First, obviously, extrapolating those exponential trends using LOA and those log charts.
Projecting the curves forward.
Right. Second, the idea of paradigm shifts, or S-curves. He acknowledges that any one technology hits limits, like maybe silicon chips. But he argues a new technology, a new paradigm, then emerges to continue the overall exponential growth. He talks about us being on the fifth computing paradigm and expecting a sixth.
So the overall trend continues even if the specific tech changes.
That's the idea. Third, he uses that grand historical narrative, the six epochs, to argue there is a long-term precedent for this kind of accelerating radical change. The singularity is just the next stage.
Positioning it within a larger evolutionary context.
Exactly. And finally, on intelligence and consciousness, he takes a very functionalist approach. Meaning he defines them by what they do, by observable behavior. If an AI can converse, reason, create, and pass all the tests like a human, then for all practical purposes, it is intelligent. He doesn't get bogged down in the philosophy of whether it's really conscious like we are.
That definitely simplifies things from an engineering perspective, I guess.
Right.
But avoids some big questions.
It does, and critics point that out. They also question whether assuming these smooth exponential trends will just continue forever is realistic. Maybe things level off, hit unforeseen walls. They argue he might downplay the obstacles.
Fair points. Okay, let's bring it back to the future he envisions. Remind us of the key timelines again.
Sure. The big ones are AGI, human-level AI by 2029, then longevity escape velocity hitting sometime in the 2030s. Also in the 2030s, those brain-cloud interfaces start becoming significant, with most of our thinking becoming non-biological by the late 2030s, and then the main event, the singularity itself, around 2045.
And what happens around those dates? What does the world look like?
Well, post-2029, with superhuman AI, you get AI driving science, automating almost everything. This could lead to extreme abundance. Resources become super cheap, widely available.
Solving problems like hunger, pollution.
That's the hope. Then in the 2030s, AI plus biotech means radical life extension becomes reality, along with other human enhancements. And the BCI tech enables that fully immersive VRR, what he calls radical life expansion, living potentially countless virtual lives.
That sounds like a completely different way to be human. Or maybe post-human. What about society?
Big shifts. Abundance, as mentioned. The future of work is a huge question. If AI automates most jobs, what do people do? He discusses ideas like universal basic income, UBI, as one potential answer.
A safety net when traditional work disappears.
Possibly. And fundamentally, it blurs the lines between biology and technology, pushes us more into virtual spaces, and raises massive philosophical questions about who we are, what identity means.
And then there's the cosmic expansion part again.
Right. The ultimate vision is intelligence spreading out, transforming the universe into computronium matter optimized for computation, the universe waking up.
It still feels very technologically determined, like it's destiny.
That's a common reading, yeah. He presents it as a powerful trajectory.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. Synthesizing all the material we've looked at, what's the absolute core message of the singularity is nearer?
The core message is really that profound, transformative change driven by accelerating technology is not only possible, it's imminent. The singularity, that human-machine merger around 2045, is the key event. AI isn't the enemy. It's our partner in transcending biological limits and achieving ultimately a kind of cosmic purpose.
And the justification.
It all comes back to the law of accelerating returns, evidenced by those decades of exponential growth in information tech and the powerful convergence of AI, biotech, and nanotech. Remember, this accelerating progress isn't just theory. We are seeing it happen now, especially with AI.
Right. And your final analytical take on the book, based on these sources?
I'd say The Singularity is Nearer presents an incredibly compelling, deeply optimistic vision. It's rooted in that powerful idea of exponential progress. But, it's important to keep in mind it relies on some big assumptions.
Like the smooth continuation of trends.
Exactly. Assuming trends continue without major disruption, assuming we navigate huge technical and social challenges, maybe underplaying some complexities. So ultimately, it feels less like a neutral forecast and maybe more like a manifesto, a powerful argument for a future he believes is possible and desirable.
Fascinating stuff. Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about. Thanks for walking me through all that.
My pleasure. It's mind-bending territory.
So, for you, our listener, we've just explored Kurzweil's vision, a future radically reshaped by technology accelerating towards this singularity. It's powerful, it's optimistic, but as we heard, it rests on some key assumptions and faces potential hurdles.
Which leads to a question for you to think about. We see AI developing incredibly fast right now. What specific advancements, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, would make you think, wow, Kurzweil's timeline might actually be right? Or conversely, what would make you think, maybe those hurdles are bigger than he thought?
Definitely some crucial food for thought there. We really encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, maybe even check out the sources yourself with this context. Until our next deep dive, keep questioning and keep learning.